Okay, so what is the prisoner's dilemma? Well, it is an aspect of game theory that seeks to explain how two people will interact in a given scenario. What's our scenario? So we have two people are arrested for separately minor crimes. So let's say something like, I don't know, drag racing. So they're arrested for drag racing. Prior to this, they both committed a greater crime. Let's say they both were in an armed robbery together, major crime. They've had no contact with each other since they've been arrested. And a policeman interviews them both separately. So, how will each man react? What are our given options in this situation? Well, each man can, confide in the other one, or they can betray the other person. Let's take a look. So, here we have, Here we have a chart, all the years, and all the possible situations that can occur. So we're going to have 4 scenarios. Let's start with the first one. We have person A and person B. So, each person has a given option, of course. If both of them are interviewed by the policeman, say that they had nothing to do in this prior crime, they'll get 2 years. So, whatever happens, 2 years is the set. Now, each person, person A and person B, have an option. Since, they worked together with this other person, they can, of course, tell about the other crime that person committed. So the policeman, let's say he talks to person A, says, were you involved in this armed robbery all these years ago? The person, figures the other person and says, well, person B was, and yes, I was too. They can get 1 year. So let's look at that. It goes from 2 years to 1 year. Seems like a pretty good deal, 1 year less in jail. Now, similarly, person B can do the same thing, and they can tell on person A. Doing so will result in them getting 1 year. However, once again, there's no interaction between these two people, so how do we know what they're going to say? Can they trust each other? Well, what occurred prior to this that might affect their decisions? They might be positively stubborn, so they might be a people person. They might say, you know what, person A is a good person, or person B is a good person. I'm going to trust them. I'm going to say that, they're going to confide in me, and they won't tell me. They're being negatively stubborn. Maybe they're a little bit cynical. They can say, I don't trust anyone. I'm going to do what's best for moi. Or they can be unchanged, of course, meaning they could do either one, be a wild card. So, what is the Nash Equilibrium? I've put a yellow star on the box in scenario 4, which represents the Nash Equilibrium. So, out of all these situations, of course, these two people have no contact with each other. So it seems kind of like, an uncertain situation. It's very unstable because you're not talking to the other person. If I was person A, I really wouldn't know what person B is saying. It's not like I'm going to talk to person B and say, let's both say this thing. Similarly, person B does not know what person A is going to say. So let's just say this is a very unstable situation and they don't trust each other. Of course, after all, years in jail are on the line. So the most stable situation is if both of them finger the other one, Both of them confess, as shown by box 4. So that's the most stable situation because if person A tells on person B, what can person B do to get person A back? The only thing would be for them to also tell on the other person. Doing so is a stable situation. See? Because after all, this situation is very uncertain because there's no contact between the two of them. So, what's the best situation to actually occur? Well, of course, if both people were to get 2 years in jail, that would be the best situation. And this occurs from both people trusting the other one and remaining silent. So when the policeman comes to interview them and say, well, were you involved in this armed robbery before? Both of them will say, no, I wasn't. Neither was the other person. And of course, both of them get 2 years. Once again, let's just sum up. If person A and person B both remain silent, they get 2 years each. Seems pretty fair. That's the best situation in terms of years. Person A fingers person B and says they were involved in it, so was I, and person B does not go on them either, then person A will get 1 year while person B gets 10 years. Pretty big difference. Similarly, person B can do the same thing and get 1 year instead of 10. And then we have the Nash Equilibrium box, in which each person fingers the other due to their lack of trust, and each person will get 3 years, but this is a stable scenario. So, can we apply this to society? Of course we can. Instead of using 2 people, let's say we have n number of people, and instead of having one game happen, let's say this is happening back to back, just multiple trials, because of course that's how we apply it to society. So let's set n as the number of people. What kind of society will be created? Well, what kind of actions do people make? I can think of a few off the top of my head. Pavlovian. Think about Pavlov's dog. Pavlov trained a dog to salivate whenever it heard a certain sound. Similarly to that of Thorndike. So, if people act with a successful action, their actions will be reinforced, thus creating a habit. Let's say we have an accountant. An accountant type is someone who looks at all the past results and says, based off what happened in the past or based off what I know of currently, I'm going to make my actions based off the results. Someone who's very studious, perhaps. We have a conformist. This is going to be the person that is very social, looks at the other ones and says, I'm just going to go with what the crowd does. We have a greedy person. Someone who wants the best thing for themselves. So they really don't care about the other people. They're just going to do whatever they can do to perhaps get 1 year. So, seeing these few examples, what kind of society will we create? Well, can we apply this to society? Look, can we think of some real life examples? I can think of a few. Let's say, I don't know, eating in a restaurant. Something we all do when we go traveling, I suppose, quite a lot. Now, how do we apply this? Well, you don't know the waiter. And let's assume since we're traveling, we're not going to be seeing the waiter again. So, since we're not seeing him again, well, we can kind of cheat on him by not tipping him. That would be rude, but that is what we can do. That would thus create two people and create the situation of the prisoner's dilemma. Similarly, another example is one, let's say, driving to work. I know traffic can be terrible in the morning, so sometimes there's parallel freeways in which you can drive ahead of people, and you're assuming you're not going to see those other cars and folks again, but if you do, that of course might lead to some grudges. So, I'd like to really end and leave you with the question of, what kind of society will we create based off this situation? I guess it's up to you.